Charles. Thanks for attending. I'm going to wait another minute or so. It's not quite 9 o'clock yet. But just want to let you know I'm here, and we are going to start on time. So appreciate you showing up. All right, so it's 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started, and I hope to be done in the next 20 to 30 minutes. We are going to be covering a lot today, and I'm going to go kind of quickly. It looks like we're started the recording, so I want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay and see me. If you wouldn't mind just raising your hand up if you can see and hear. All right, got a couple of hands out there. Appreciate it, guys. Okay. So it looks like we're ready to go. Good deal. Well, my name is Charles Owen. I've been with Paladin close to 10 years now. And my role here is I manage business alliances, and I sometimes get the opportunity to do demonstrations, show up at some of the trade shows, and also perform these webinars. And this is a really interesting webinar for me to do. It happens to be on these PaladinNsight dashboard dials. Chad has done two prior to this, which were talking about how to stock your inventory, how to clean up your inventory, and how to basically achieve optimal stocking supply. And this one is part 3 of our 5-part PaladinNsight webinar series. The description says if you're a store owner, you're an investor. Your largest business investment is in your store inventory. Like any money-making investment, you must regularly review and manage your inventory investment to get the greatest return. And this is how you can learn how to use a tool that we've created for you in order to accomplish this. So let's move to slide number 1. This is the agenda that we're going to be speaking of today. And we're going to basically discuss the what, the why, and the how-to of reviewing what's typically the largest investment that you have outside of your real estate. This presentation will cover the second dashboard dial or meter, and that is known as the investment review tool. We'll discuss the specifics surrounding this tool, and then I'll launch into a brief demo of how to use the product. And again, I'm going to limit this to about 30 minutes. So let's move to slide number 2. About PaladinNsight and the inventory review tool. So if you have access to the dashboard and PaladinNsight, you'll see that the second one is titled Investment Review. If you don't see this when you go into inventory as a manager or store owner, you might want to enable PaladinNsight or the dashboards, which you can do, and there are 2 places you have to enable this. And I'll just say this up front here. One is under the setup screen, under the company tab, under the inventory section, there's a checkbox that says disable Paladin dashboards. Now, if you check that, you won't be able to see this ever in Paladin. So if you want to see it, you need to uncheck that. It comes default unchecked, so as a manager, you should be able to see this. If you're an employee, you need to have access on your employee tab. So again, under Paladin setup, you would go to the employee tab and activate PaladinNsight as a feature for your staff to use this product or this particular feature. All right. So this is powered by our market-driven inventory management system, and it's really going to, PaladinNsight helps you make informed decisions, and it asks questions that you don't necessarily know to ask. One of those is, how much product am I out of? Another one is, how is my investment doing? How is my reviewing of the investment been going? What kind of loss do I have? In other words, shrinkage. And the last one is, what are my non-performing assets? This particular dial and or meter that we're talking about today deals with the inventory investment reviewing. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Move to the next slide here. What does it mean to manage your inventory investment? Well, since it's the largest business investment, you probably should spend some time in managing this inventory investment. Not only that, but it can help with the customer experience or the consumer experience. Clean, well lit, nicely priced the same as what your point of sale system says it is. These are all really important things. Not only that, but counting, taking account and looking at shrinkage. All of these are things that are going to help. Making sure you can read the label, making sure that the price matches your POS system, as I just mentioned. And when you regularly review items in your store, you have a much better or higher customer satisfaction. So those are some of the reasons why. Now we talk about pushing the best practice of doing cycle counts, right? Go and pick a section, a 4-foot section, and count. Well, counting should really be a byproduct of reviewing your inventory investment, because it's not just about making sure that the count is accurate, although that's extremely important. The other important thing is just making sure that, like I said, everything matches. You don't have strange objects hanging from a peg where it shouldn't be, and you make sure that it's well lit and well presented. That's going to change the consumer experience for you in your store. And the goal is to sell more products, right? I mean, higher turns means higher profitability, and that's what we're all looking for as store owners. We're going to look at some of the screenshots here, and then I'll go into a brief demo. This shows a high-level view of the inventory details. So if you click on, next to that dial, you've got on the very bottom, you have investment review, and next to that's a little magnifying glass. If you click on that magnifying glass, it will show you multiple levels of detail. The first one is kind of a broad range of either the location names and or department names. You can select how you want to present it, and then based on that you can click into that. Then it'll actually bring up those specific items, and then you can sort those items and do other things with them. So as you drill down, you get to more detail, and eventually if you double click on an item, it'll actually take you to that item in the inventory. You currently don't have that feature today unless you're on beta, but it is coming very shortly where you'll be able to click on an item in any one of these dials, and it will jump to the inventory, let you do whatever you need to do to that item, and then it'll take you right back to where you left off. This next slide shows the meter in close-up, and it shows you that there is a number that's presented there. That number presented is a percentage of your inventory investment that needs review, and it defaults to the last 180 days. So that's a good roundabout number of days to look for, but you can make it 90 days if you like, if you want to be more aggressive about reviewing your inventory, or you can push it out to 300 days. It's up to you. Now, if you're doing this right, and you're performing these year-round, meaning you're counting your store, you're reviewing your store, you're making sure everything's clean, well-presented, and the labels are matching and legible and everything else, you should have under a 10% showing up in this window. If you don't, you're going to have a higher number. And that higher number can be anywhere from, greater than 10% up to, 90%, or even greater than that. So the goal is to get that number down, and that's where it shows you that number. Once you drill on the investment review magnifying glass, it'll take you into another screen, and that screen gives you the detailed look of departments or locations that have not been reviewed in the last 180 days. Now, when I go into the demo, I'll show you how to sort this, also how to limit it to a particular supplier, or how to reduce the number of days. And then also, when you're looking at this information, you can review this information by location or department, and by number of items or percentage of items. Drilling down a little deeper and showing you, this is exactly what I just spoke of, the view options. So you notice there you can set it to order by location or department and display by number of items or percentage of items. Then you can limit the to a particular supplier, and then also reduce or increase the review days, the number of days to review. Also, this screen gives you the ability to export it to Excel. So if you wanted to get this and export it to Excel, you can do this, and then in Excel you can sort it and subtotal it and print it and do anything you need to do with it. On this screen, though, you can actually sort these by any of the header fields there, by department, by name, by condition, by the number of items to review or the number of items to review in the department. Moving on to the next slide, drilling down one more layer, you can see that if you go into, in this case, location number 1400 or L01D, you'll see that it brings up the actual items, and it shows you a few other data elements there that are pretty critical. One is the stock on hand, so you can see how many stock on hand. You can sort by that as well. More importantly, over to the right, you have an opportunity to sort by last counted date. So maybe you do by the most recent counted date, or the opposite of that, and you can then export this also to an Excel report. You'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't identify it here. It might on the next slide, but you can export this to an Excel document. These are the actual items that need to be reviewed. So it can make it rather nice to have a list of items, particularly after you've done this a few times. You're going to limit and reduce the number of items here. It might be just a half a dozen items that somehow slipped through the cracks because maybe the department or location were in the wrong place. So you can print this to an Excel document, take the RF unit, and go over and inspect those items. So here it is. Yeah, so this shows all the different things that you can do when it comes to sorting, and also the export to Excel, which I just referred to. So we call this a review cue sheet. So you can print it to Excel and then take the gun to the aisles and correct those items. All right, so here's the highest level of detail, or the deepest level of detail that you can get to. Once you find an item that you want to actually affect in some way or another, you can double click or click on the magnifying glass, and it will call up that inventory item. This is a tremendous value. Now, the first wave of this product, or the first phase of this product, didn't incorporate this last level of integration to where you can, or detail. Now you have it, or you will have it in the next update. You that are on beta have it today, but you will have this capability soon. So you'll be able to go right into the inventory item, do whatever you need to do, count, look at it, inspect it, do whatever you need to, and then hit escape or cancel, and it will drop you right back to where you left off on the investment review tool. Great feature. So the details. Now, once you have the list of actual items up, you have the capability of removing some of those. So maybe some are special orders. Maybe some of these were discontinued, no longer in stock by the manufacturer or the supplier. So this window will help you clean this information up. All you have to do is click on the little delete checkbox and go through the different windows, and then hit delete at the bottom, and it removes them. So it doesn't actually, as you know, remove these items from the inventory, but it takes them out of their active status and it puts them into a deleted status, which means they'll fall out of the reports. They're not going to show up as inventory items. It's going to take whatever it had in stock on hand and throw it into shrinkage, and basically eliminate those products from showing up unless you try to recall or scan that item again, and then it will do whatever you tell it to do, either add it back in inventory or show it's a part not found or something of that nature. So that's how that feature works. So you can remove the unneeded items. This really helps to clean things up. It's really important to do. All right, next, these are a few slides that are going to talk about best practices. So how do we accomplish this? How do we enable this? Well, first thing is you need to plan. You need to plan to do these. You need to set a time, schedule it, and determine whether you're going to do this daily, multiple times a week, weekly, or multiple times a month. It's up to you. Shorter time period means you're going to have, a lighter task every time you do this. You might not want to spend a lot of time doing this. Well, if you increase the amount of reviewing that you do, it's going to reduce the amount of time over time, as you're going to get through it much faster. And then make sure that everybody knows a review schedule, set expectations, make sure that those owners of that particular supplier or location or section is on board with this and sees the value. The next best practice is to, at the scheduled inventory review time, decide which departments or locations to review. So you've got to have sort of a sequence to follow, and typically you just go from one location to the next, to the next, to the next. Or you can select it by department as well. So either by department or location. Sort the list so the largest number of unreviewed items appear on top, and choose the departments or locations to review, and then start the reviewing process. So now you've got your schedule, you know who's going to do it, when they're going to do it, and now you go and you determine which items or locations or departments that you're going to go through first. Next best practice, do the review. So what's that mean? Well, it means take the RF gun, go out to the aisles, go to your location, and start reviewing those products. So you start by, looking at the overall section. Is it appealing? Is it well lit? Does it present itself nicely? Is it easy accessible for the customers? Make sure that when you scan the item, so you're going to want to scan the item to do a couple of things. One, it's going to tell you what the price is in the system, and you want to compare that price with what's on the label. Make sure they're correct. If they're not correct, right then and there, providing you have one of the hip printers that hooks up to the RF gun, you can produce a bin tag and stick it right on the shelf. If you don't have a hip printer that hooks up to the RF gun, they are a great value. They really clearly will help you save time. Ensure that the right products are on the right shelf and on the right peg, and this is all part of the process. And then lastly, to make sure your stock on hand is correct, do the count. You're there, you're doing it, and you're probably in the counting mode to begin with, so just go ahead and put in the number that you see on the shelf. Now, even if the number matches what's on the shelf and what's in the system, in the Paladin system, you'll want to put that number in again, because that's what's going to identify that that item was touched. Don't underestimate the this is a very important task, because this is going to help you sell more product. It's going to help product move if it's well presented, it's kept up. We've all gone in the stores that are in a shamble, right? They're just in a shamble. You can't find anything. There's no prices on anything, and it's very, very frustrating. You don't want that kind of experience for your customers. You want to be able to come in. You want to be organized. You haven't had a store reset done in the last decade, probably a good time to talk to your supplier, maybe do that. Put in some of the practices in place that will help customers to buy more product, buy some of those blind products. Put some more impulse items up towards the front that people are buying, some of those more popular items. Extend the length of your checkout process or aisles so that they have to walk through more product. Those are all different ways to increase the spend. You can increase the spend, you're going to be more profitable when it comes to the end of the year numbers. All right, so make sure you found everything that is in that section. And then after that, investigate the remaining unreviewed items. So you'll want to go back to the PaladinNsight dashboard, go to that particular dial or meter, click on it, and make sure that you've cleared out everything in that section. You've counted everything. Now, the odds are after you finish counting the location and or department, you go to the computer, you're still going to have some leftover products. Well, how did they get there? Well, maybe they're categorized wrong. They're in the wrong location, or they have the wrong department code assigned to them. You'll need to clean those up. You know, the goal is to make this as clean and perfect as possible. It's not going to be perfect all the time, but if you take steps like this, you're going to help to increase the profitability and increase the item's presentability, I guess. Really poorly said, but you get the point. All right, so I'm trying to read here as we go on. I should have mentioned up front, these slides are very verbose, and that's for a reason, so that you can come back to this and you can refer to this, and those that aren't here at this live presentation or webinar, they can go back later and they can also review the slides, because we do produce not only this presentation in a video format, but we also give you the slides as well, so you can have those. All right. Now we're into the demo, and I will jump out briefly here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. We've been going about 20 minutes now. I want to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. This is what the Paladin dashboards look like, and I will review very quickly what I talked about. If you do not see this on the screen, you're either not logged in as a manager or an owner, and or haven't been given permissions, or if you are an owner and a manager, it may be turned off entirely. So you'd want to go in and adjust that. So it's under the Setup Company tab, and we'll scoot down to, in the left-hand category we're looking for is Inventory, which is right here. And there's something here that says Disable Inventory Dashboards. If you've checked that, you're not going to be able to see this. So you'll want to uncheck that if you want exposure and access to this. Secondly, if you're not a manager and you want employees to get access to this, you go into the Employee tab, and then down here there's a PaladinNsight. That's the checkbox for that employee to see the Paladin dashboard. Okay, now that you can see it, we've got it up on the screen. You can see that I've got a number here. It says 90% of my inventory for this particular demo has not been reviewed in the last 180 days. Probably not too different than a lot of folks out there if you're not doing these best practices as of today. So we'll click on the magnifying glass and it'll take us straight to condition. We can sort by location or department, number of items or percentage of items. And now that I have this up here, I can sort. I can say, well, let's look at the numbers of items to review. I have 1 in labor, 4 in bolts, so on and so forth. Or I can look at the opposite. Click again, and it'll go in descending order from the highest number. Now I'm in plumbing supplies, and if I were to click on plumbing supplies, double click on it, or click on the magnifying glass to the left, it's going to drill down. It's going to show me every individual item that's there. Now I can sort by last counted. I can generate an Excel report that shows all these items in a report. Sort by look at my stock on hand. My department, depending on whether I have department or location selected as my sort criteria, one or the other will display. Okay, now if I want to go into these items, I can just either click on the magnifying glass or double click anywhere on the line, and it jumps me right out to the inventory. And now I can get in and I can look at my order control, my pricing, my general tabs. I can change my department or my class or my location. In this case, there's no location assigned. And then when I'm done, either I hit cancel or press escape, and it goes right back to the screen I was working at. This is the feature that you will all have as soon as you're on the newest version of Paladin. Those stores that are out there that are alpha and beta currently have this today. So that pretty much is it, guys. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Chad is co-facilitating this with me today, and hopefully
that's the time.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, this would be a good time to ask. You can either type it in, or if you'd like, I can unmute you and you can speak to us. I'll give you a moment. If you have a question, just type in, yes, or raise your hand or something. If you raise your hand, I'll go ahead and unmute you and you can speak if you have questions. All right. So I'm going to, yep, go ahead. Chad?
Oh, you're good. No questions. Sorry.
Okay, great. All right, so there are some resources you can go to. I've got them. They will be on the presentation as well as in this video. So there's a couple articles: Take Charge of Investment, Inventory Investment with the Investment Review Tool, Boost Your Business with PaladinNsight, About PaladinNsight. These are 3 articles that you can go to a knowledge base and get access to. All right, so I mentioned this is a third of a 5-part series. We're doing part 4 on June 20th, and those are items that you're slipping away through the loss experience tool, basically shrinkage. On July 11th, we're going to be exposing those non-performing assets in the inventory. This is really the area that is of a lot of interest to people. There's 2 real, all these dashboards are important, but finding out what you've got in overstock is extremely useful for you, because if you're using Paladin suggested order, that's just going to get better over time. But this exposes things that may fall through the cracks or may not be obvious. So these are both 2 really good seminars and webinars I hope you can attend. Thank you guys very much. To get access to this presentation, you just go to Paladin point of sale, or I'm sorry, portal.paladinpos.com/webinars, and I'll take you right to the webinar. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope this was useful to you. Have a great rest of the day, guys. Signing off.